Section 1, Chapter 2, the neurobiology of addiction. To understand the effects of psychoactive drugs, you have to understand the nature and function of the nervous system. Okay? Stimulus and response in our nervous system, in our specialized structures. There's a sensory reception. Some type of stimulus is detected from outside or within the body. There's an interconnection, an electrical message that's transmitted from one part of the system to the other, and then a motor response. Once the appropriate response is triggered, there's a muscular retraction, and the message is sent back to the nerve center. The nervous system, and this is on the test, has two parts. The central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord. Psychoactive drugs have primary effect on the central nervous system. And the peripheral nervous system, which are all the nerves that branch out from the brain and the spinal cord. Okay? On page 28, they give you a little picture. In the peripheral nervous system, there are two parts, the somatic and the autonomic. The somatic is the cranial spinal nerves that connect the central nervous system to the skin and skeletal muscles. The autonomic system is the nerves that connect to your body organs, your heart, stomach, intestines, your glands, that control your brain automatically without conscious control and effort. In your autonomic system, there are two parts. Sympathetic, that is activity, that's awake kind of stuff. Parasympathetic, that's rest and sleep. Then that's all you really need to know to pass that. The basic unit of the nervous system is the neuron. It receives stimulus and it transmits electrical messages throughout the system. From the neuron are two types of fibers. Dendrites send nerve impulses toward the cell. They capture them. Axons carry them away from the cell. Every neuron has only one axon and several dendrites. Between neurons is a little gap, which is called the synaptic cleft. There's a picture on page 29 that tells you this. And it goes through the process. They grab it, they bring it toward the cell, they stick it in a little axon, they throw it across the cleft to the next axon, and it just ding, ding, ding. Okay. Page 30. There's a variety of neurotransmitter substances within the system. Acetylcholine. It's excitatory. It's going to be stimulants. Cocaine and meth. Tobacco, coffee. Norepinephrine. This is arousal reactions and moods. When I had problems on the operating table, they gave me norepinephrine so that my system would arouse and I could breathe and live again. Great stuff. Dopamine, cocaine, it's pleasure. Serotonin, this is your circadian system. This is your sleep-wake body temperature. GABA, inhibitory. So and if you disrupt that, you can have convulsions. When you have GABA, when you inhibit the neurotransmitters and you block GABA, this is like tequila makes your clothes fall off. That's what happens there. Glycol. If they get on crack cocaine,
you were saying it takes away your inhibitions.
Right, they take their clothes off. This is when you got girls going wild and they're, all this stuff. Glycine, inhibitory in the spinal cord, not in the brain. GABA's in the brain, glycine's in the spinal cord. Enkephalins and endorphins or morphines, it's pain reducers.
Will you say it one more time? The last one.
Enkephalins, Enkephalins, and endorphins. There's a lot of studies that little rats that get struck by snakes, that they feel the initial pain and then the endorphins set in and they kind of get swallowed up while they're in a trance-like state. I would like to think
This is how I attract men.
Me too.
That's how I attract them.
Okay. Life cycle and action of the neurotransmitters.
Is this your number?
Okay. A cell that's going to make a particular neurotransmitter brings in a precursor for a greater concentration than the rest of the brain, takes it up to the neuron, it gets changed, it gets synthesized, it gets put in the synaptic knob at the end of the axon, it gets pushed across the synaptic cleft, and it transmits up the line. Okay? If you look at page 32, they give you a lovely little diagram of neurotransmission, how it all just kind of happens. But if you know neuron, dendrite, axon, synaptic cleft, you're probably okay. Okay?
Biosync. Do you have the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
If you have, take a tranquilizer like Thorazine to treat psychotic behavior, it blocks receptors for dopamine, so it reduces that activity. They don't have a lot of pleasure, but they're not causing a lot of problems. The brain. 100,000 neurons die off each day. Even if that happens, you still will die with over 7 billion brain cells. They used to say brain cells would not regenerate. That is not considered to be entirely true.
I know, I learned that at the play therapy conference.
The plasticity, neuroplasticity, neurobiology research is very accurate.
Neurogenesis does occur.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thousands of neurotransmitter molecules released by a single electrical signal must be removed from the synaptic cleft. So this is when you get the reuptake process. The releasing neuron expends energy to recapture released transmitters that they couldn't afford to lose. Especially true with dopamine. If the body loses the ability to reproduce it because it's been chemically altered by cocaine use, people go into a terrible depression without it. They have to have SSRIs from the doctor. Right. Drug actions. One drug that interferes with the synthesis of neurotransmitters, dopamine and norepinephrine, is methyl-dopa. It looks like dopa, it looks like dopamine. It's a false sensation. And I don't think that's on the test. I think they just kind of throw that in for free. Okay. In the brain, the medulla oblongata, the part of the brain, the lower brain that connects to the spinal column, the ascending and descending nerve fibers. They control the vital centers of the brain: breathing, blood pressure, the respiration, the vasomotor, heart rate, which is cardiac, gastrointestinal, sleeping, walking, behavioral alerting, attention, arousal, coughing, sneezing, swallowing, vomiting. You have people that vomit when they're drunk and they die, they drown.
So involuntary.
Right. And they're severe. If you severely depress your medulla oblongata, like with opiates and barbiturates, people die. Pons is the rounded bulge on the underside of the brainstem going to the midbrain. Not a lot about that. The midbrain is the short segment right above the pons. It serves motor pathways between the cerebrum and the lower parts of the nervous system. Psychedelic drugs work there with visual and auditory hallucinations. That's what you need to know about that. Midbrain. Cerebellum, reflex center, muscle movements. Depressed by psychoactive drugs, that means when you get intoxicated, you have loss of muscle coordination, staggering, loss of balance. Thalamus, between the cerebrum and the midbrain. This is where painful and pleasurable sensations are noticed. Body temperature. So you have people that pass out drunk, homeless people, and they freeze to death, and they don't understand that they're freezing to death. Subthalamus controls motor activity. Hypothalamus maintains homeostasis, the body normal. Blood pressure, arterial blood pressure, water, electrolyte, chemical balance, hunger, body weight, movements, sexual behavior. A prime action of many psychoactive drugs, which is why you have so many
What thalamus is this?
hypo. Atypical sexual behaviors that can occur. Limbic system, that's where the emotions live. Cerebrum, the largest, most complex part of the brain. It has lobes, frontal lobes. That is motor. It's also concentration, planning, problem solving, judgment.
Executive functions.
Parietal, temperature, touch, pressure, skin pain, understanding speech. Temporal, hearing, sensory, memory, music. Occipital is vision. And the cerebral cortex, the gray wrinkle matter that's your actual brain, relays impulses between the nerve cortex and the spinal cord. Many psychoactive drugs affect cerebral function directly or indirectly. Depressants decrease nerve cell function, stimulants crank it up, hallucinogens cause hallucinations, obviously. And they give you a picture of the brain on page 37. That's where we are, guys. We will reconvene. Chapter 2.